Many times in my life, people have called this story fake. I once wrote a paper on it in the 4th grade, and I got an A for Best Fictional Story. Now, I'd just like to let everybody here know that this is not a fictional story. Riley Remembers is not fiction, it's not a dream, it's stuff that has actually happened. Now, today's story happens while I was in the 3rd grade. You see, there was this thing at the time known as Hands Up, Stands Up. Well, I'd just like you all to know that it's basically a game out of who can do a headstand the longest. Real entertaining, right? Because, honestly, who wants to play a game where you stand on your head? Why is that entertaining to people? I don't know. You want to see how far you can push your brain into your mouth? Is that it? But I digress. The entire point of my story today is that the game of Hands Up, Stands Up isn't a game that is liked to the people it interferes with. And during the 3rd grade, it interfered with kickball players. Now, kickball players like an entire field to themselves, and I'm going to say this now, kickball players are mostly boys. But to make myself and others sound a little better, I'm going to tell you the truth and tell you that Hands Up, Stands Up, unfortunately, was also mostly boys. Now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense why a lot of kids are so stupid. Never mind. I digress. So, naturally, with the kickball players being disturbed, they want to take their turf back. And their turf just happened to be the kickball field, obviously, where the Hands Up, Stands Up kids were doing their game. I say with quotation marks. Now, a little organization had been created by a man who, I'm going to change his name because, quite frankly, I don't know what he would think about this. I'll change his name to, let's say, Mark. So Marky Mark here, not Marky Mark like Mark Wahlberg. I didn't go to school with Mark Wahlberg in the 3rd grade. That makes no sense at all. Anywho, Mark here liked the idea of getting back his turf with violence. Now, please remember this is the 3rd grade. I've changed my ways since then. My ways weren't to attack with violence, you see, but I just liked the thrill of it all, the thrill of the plan. I felt like an untouchable, really. Now, Mark's plan was to get as many pro kickballers as he could against all of the anti-kickballers to get in this big, huge roadhouse fight. So, it's had all been planned. This was back in the day, you see, when we had 2 or 3 recesses a day. I mean, this was the good stuff. There was no 5 minutes between classes, in which case you're running and your pants are falling off. No, this is real, having fun, talk to your friends, get a breath of fresh air. So, it was the 3rd recess of the day. 10-minute recess, right? So, the plan has been set. We're all in motion. We walked there, 3 of us. Myself, Mark, and another guy we'll call Darren. Now, Mark, Darren, and I stood in a line against all of these handstandees. And they knew the dangers that they were in, but they didn't care. They weren't going to back down. So now the intensity's really ratcheted up quite a bit here. And it was at this point that Mark proceeded to tell them, you guys, would you please, for the final time, move, get off our field. We're going to play kickball. And once again, they said, no, we have just as much right to be here as you do. And, you know, some kids were like, well, my parents are richer, they pay more taxes, and someone said back, well, it doesn't matter because rich people don't pay taxes, obviously. And then people are like, how do you know that? You're in the 3rd grade. And they're like, how can you care? You're in the 3rd grade. Maybe that part of the conversation happened. Maybe I'm ranting. Anyways, I'll digress. Now, Mark snapped his fingers. A snap of his fingers, and it happened. It was the quickest rush of adrenaline I had ever felt at the time. So quick that it happened, I can barely remember what happened during the altercation. I just know that over the hill comes tens, hundreds, maybe, of kickball players, and they're running as fast as they can. The handstand guys are standing like a bunch of Mel Gibsons on their Braveheart horses, and they just stand their ground, and the kickballers move in like I've never seen before. 300 hadn't come out at the time. I'd never seen an army like this at this point. But the thing was, it wasn't an army. I had seen Anchorman. This is what this was. It was the great Anchorman, copyright 2003, fight scene that I had always dreamed of. They charge at each other. People are fighting. They're grabbing each other. They're pulling by their hair. They're biting. People are getting pushed down. And I'd like to say I was in on that, but quite frankly, I think I was just running in between the people. But darn it, it was the best feeling I'd ever had. Now, I had seen Anchorman. Yes, I was only 10 or 8 or however old I was when the movie came out, but I had seen it. I knew how this was going down as soon as I turned around and I saw a teacher. This teacher's walking at us with a look on her face of pure disgust, shaking her head as she goes along. Now, Darren had walked out to try and recruit more members, get as many men into this army as he could, and I saw him trying to talk this teacher down, trying to turn her away. She wasn't going for it. So as she got closer, I, at the time, did not know the Spanish word for teacher. I just knew that everything in Spanish ended with O, which isn't exactly right, but that's how I felt at the time. And I saw that great scene in Anchorman where Ben Stiller yells, "Policía! Policía!" So I turn around and I see the teacher and I turn back to my army of fighters and I yell, "Teachero! Teachero! Teachero!" And I'll tell you one thing, we scattered. We were gone. There wasn't anybody stopping us. I went and hid. I went under a slide. I could see perfectly the angle at which the two captains of the brawl were staring each other down, and this teacher was staring both of them down. It was almost like a court battle. These two were so intense with each other. And nobody ever got blamed. There was no red ticket or yellow ticket or whatever the heck it was called then. Everybody just kind of went on their way. They never spoke about it ever again. This is one of the first times it's ever been told to more than one person, and one of the first times that, actually, it is the first time, in my knowledge, that it has been recorded. So, my people, that is how I leave you today, with the knowledge that for the first time ever, real schoolyard justice is being broadcast across the internet. Whether you choose to believe it or not, I honestly don't care, because I know in my heart and in my memory, which is real, that this was real, and my life has been extraordinary for 10 minutes. Thank you, good night, and bless you, whatever God you may believe in.